Hello, everybody. This is Nate Boree. I'm recording my final project for fall for Religious Studies 101. And with me here is my lovely kitty, Pudley. He's so cute. I know he is. Yes, he is. Yes, I love him. And so just so everybody knows, this project will be downloaded from Zoom and uploaded to YouTube. And so if you're interested in watching it, which I'm pretty sure you will be if you want to be graded, and so I want to be graded. So all you have to do is just click on the link to find it on YouTube and you will find it. Now, to get on to the explanation of my project. So for this assignment, I decided to play the role of a Roman soldier that goes by the name of Aurelius Augustus Germanicus, who is loyal to Rome to his dying breath. He witnessed the death of Jesus of Nazareth and believed Jesus's death was a positive to make sure that Rome did not fall prey to the rise of the Judeo-Christian theology. But as time passes by, Aurelius sees the rise of Christianity growing with each passing day. And because of his continued loyalty to Rome in his old age, he believes it is his duty to pass on a manifesto of his desire for his fellow soldiers to rise up and shut down the rise of Christianity and Judaism. The manifesto calls for Aurelius's fellow soldiers to rise up against Jewish and Christian people and help bring the old gods back and help them keep their strength by uniting all polytheistic cultures together in one army and strike back against those that would seek to destroy the hierarchy of society. He asks that his fellow soldiers take the symbol on the cover of the manifesto as a sign of their allegiance to uniting the polytheistic cultures of the world, bringing back the old gods, and restoring a time when man and nature lived as one. So, finally, we get to hang out on here. So, for my project, and to actually make sense of the image that I created, I decided to print out the symbol of the manifesto. So what you see here is the symbol that I created. See, it's a combination of an Egyptian ankh with a Celtic cross mixed into the Egyptian ankh, with the Greek symbol of omega dropping down from it, and then as it reaches down further, you see the symbol of the Roman symbol of Jupiter. And next to it, I wrote Manifesto Rebellionis, which is Latin for Manifesto of Rebellion. And then at the very bottom, you see I wrote another Latin phrase, uno fides, multos deos, which is the catchphrase, or which is the saying that I chose for Aurelius and for his rallying cry, one belief, many gods. And the manifesto is basically a calling to Aurelius's fellow soldiers. He, as I said before, he's asking them to rise up against Judeo-Christian theology that is rising within Rome, that is, in his mind, tearing down the hierarchy of society, the very fabric of their understanding of society, of their very understanding of religion, of the world around them, the natural phenomenon that has made sense to them since the creation of their empire. It is his duty in his mind, as he's lying on his deathbed, to reach out to his fellow soldiers, to call forth an army that will make Rome strong again and will make this growing monotheistic, this God who has no name, no physical appearance, no attachment to any one religion, cult, or what have you, and tear it down from where it started. Now, I know that kind of makes me sound a little bit anti-Christian, anti-Jewish, but it doesn't. It's basically it makes me a critical thinker in terms of what religion is. In my mind, I am somebody who doesn't believe in a one God. I don't believe in the Jewish God. I don't believe in the Christian God. I don't believe in any of that. I'm atheistic, if you will. But that doesn't mean I'm not willing to branch out and see what's there. I go on a walk every single day with my parents, and I look to see the sunset as it's creeping across the clouds, and I think to myself, well, any indigenous culture that looked up at the sky and saw the light streaks coming from the clouds, just illuminating the ocean or wherever they were, I couldn't help but think immediately any indigenous culture would say that was their god, that was their Zeus, that was their Apollo, that was their Poseidon, their Ra, their what have you. Their polytheistic belief in multiple gods helped make sense of natural phenomena everywhere they went, to storms, to choppy waters, to bad fertile crops. They would look at that and they would say the gods are either blessing us or damning us. And as someone who has spent a lifetime or spent a life, um, interested in popular culture, who's basically consumed every form of popular culture you can think of, from movies to TV shows to video games to books, there's always been a representation of polytheistic religions such as Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Norse, what have you, in some form, maybe in a video game, maybe in a movie, maybe in a TV show, in a book. There's the perfect example of the Rick Riordan book series of Percy Jackson and the Olympians that goes into Greek mythology and demigods. So in terms of what I think is more feasible and understanding is the idea of a polytheistic viewpoint. It's not so much restricted as it is kind of interesting to think about. When you really think about it, can we really say that in a time period or in a lifespan of a little over 2,000 years, or maybe even longer, can we really say that this monotheistic God of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam is the only God that exists? No, we can't, because before this God existed, there were multiple gods, there were multiple deities, multiple beings that controlled every fabric of reality, of creation, of nature. In which case, we have to stop thinking about this idea that this one God controls everything, and that maybe, just maybe, it's another example of popular culture coming into created by man in order to make ourselves feel, I don't want to say lesser, but not as important. And so I think that with my creation, it's a call to say, let's be critical. Let's have a critical viewpoint of monotheism, and let's take a step back and ask ourselves, is this God really the only one that exists? Or are there others that exist out there? Maybe they're fiction, maybe they're real. We don't know. We don't know what's out there. We don't know where these natural phenomena come from, other than, they're natural in that, their weather, the oceans, the tides, the what have you. as a popular culture scholar, I am someone who is devoted to the idea of being critical of what I see, of having a critical mindset. And that's what I think this creation is meant to do. It's meant to ask the theoretical and critical questions of, is God real? And that's why I think it's so important to ask these questions. And that's why I thought it was so important to create this character, because there, in my mind, I was never raised on religion. I was never raised on monotheism. I was raised on thinking about what could be out there, what might be out there, broaden my horizon, broaden my mindset. Don't just immediately gain a restrictive, one-sided viewpoint. Take a step back, take a look at everything that's around you, and to look at the bigger picture. Look at what does exist. Look at what man has created. And that's what I think God is. I think God is a man-made creation that is meant to make us feel, well, like, I said before, lesser, but in some circumstances, it's also meant to make us feel stronger, meant to make us feel like we're more important than we actually are. But I look at the stories of Odin. I look at the stories of Zeus. I look at the stories of Greek mythology. I look at the stories of Egyptian mythology. I look at the stories of all of these polytheistic viewpoints, and I say, that makes more sense. That feels more real. Or it's the idea of storytelling that feels more real. Because these gods, these deities, they're characters in stories. From the written word to the spoken word, these characters were brought throughout time, throughout multiple methods of communication, multiple methods of storytelling, and they were brought to life. They were brought into being. Maybe not physically, maybe not in reality, but in the mindset, in the hearts of those who worshiped them, to the point that they would create altars, that they would create temples to honor these gods in order to get blessings, in order to gain crops, in order to gain stronger lifespans, in order to gain strength in war, gain strength in whatever. To me, that feels more real and makes more sense than a single god that actually originated from polytheism. If you think back to what we learned in the rise of Judaism and the rise of Islam and Christianity, Allah, Elohim, Jehovah, whatever God's name is, this God originated from a polytheistic origins, in which case that means polytheism actually has greater strength and more relevance than monotheism, because at the time of monotheism's creation, polytheism was actually the hierarchy of society. And I can see why. Empires like Egypt, like Rome, like Greek, they had the power. They had these multiple gods that demanded they own slaves, demanded they spread their empires to greater feats. And they all had one belief, but they had multiple gods. And that's the importance of this saying. Uno fides, multos deos. One belief, many gods. There was a video from Ricky Gervais, I think, and I remember my dad telling me about it. It was critical of monotheism because it was saying, oh, your God is, there are 3,000 other gods, and you're trying to convince me that your God is the real one, or your God is the right one. Well, what about all those other gods that came before? Where did their relevance go? Where did their importance go? That's what I want people to think about. That's where I want this important story to go. I want people to be critical. I want people to think about it. Don't take a angry viewpoint towards monotheism, but think about it. Ask yourself, is God really real? Or is there something else out there? I don't know. But I leave that up to you to think about. But to finish up and the discussion about my creation, so I added a little bit of cool detail. I crumpled up my paper to give it the kind of old parchment look, and you can even see here. Let me bring it closer. I used a match to burn the corners and the edges. I wanted to give it that kind of, it was just brought out of fire look. It was just brought out of battle look, that sense that it's old, that sense that it was really brought from that time period. Not sure if it worked, not sure if it's good, but hey, I tried. So that's it. That's my project. I hope you guys like it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if it gets a good grade, gets a good grade. I've had a great time enjoying this class. I've learned so much from it. And thank you to the professor. Thank you so much for just making this the best experience of my life. And I look forward to seeing everybody's reactions from this. So have a great night, everybody. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you believe in. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy holidays, everybody.